conversation with my friends with Monster on Sunday, and I understand they've got a new album out. They've got a new video. They got a couple new songs, of course, because you have to have that to have a new album, I suppose, unless you're AC/DC. And anyway, how are you guys doing?
We're doing good. Although we do not have the new album out yet. So what we've got is we got the demos that we're sharing with people, but we're going actually into the studio to record them professionally. So it will be out at some time in the future.
At some time.
I do not know.
All right then. Well, so what would you like to chat about then? You've got the demos. I've listened to a couple of those. I don't know if you want me to share them on this interview or links to them or whatever we want to do with that. I'd be happy to accommodate. And I know you've got a video out. We can talk about that too.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're going on different podcasts and we're sharing clips of different parts of our demos, kind of get people to understand what we're doing with our next album and hopefully help us support going into the studio and making it professionally and doing it to the next level. So, but yeah, we'd like to talk about that, share a few clips on this podcast, and also share a bit of our new music video with people too. So the new music video is Stardust. It's from our first album. And it really kind of celebrates our cosmic beginnings with the understanding that we came from stars. The elements that exist in us came from stars and their explosions and billions of years of all kinds of things happening that a cosmologist could explain much better than me. But we made a video about it regardless.
Yeah, it was inspired by Carl Sagan, and we released it on his birthday, a couple weeks ago.
It was November 9th, that we released that in honor of Carl Sagan.
Mm-hmm.
You want to try that now?
Yes.
Yep, let's go ahead and play a clip of that.
The stars died for you. The stars died for you.
All right, so that was Stardust, and you recorded that on the beach. I understand that you're in Arizona now, right?
Yes.
And you were in San Diego. Did you record that in San Diego?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were there a long time, a lot of years.
Okay. Well, what can you tell me about that recording session and all that, and the location, the other band members, and so forth?
Well, of course, like a true rock and roll band, we did that recording completely illegally. We just, I found a strip of beach, and it was very important because the Highway 1 goes all down San Diego, all across California, really pretty close to the ocean. So I had to find a spot where there was a big cliff where you couldn't see us doing what we're doing if you're the police.
And also, so we didn't have the sound of a freeway right there.
Well, yeah.
Do you mind not biting me in the head? Jeez.
See, the thing was, is we went and we did the March for Science, and we're like, we need to do this video. And so we didn't want to take time to pull permits and all that. We just invited all our friends. We went and shot the video. I Google Earthed this place that was basically, I don't know, like 300 yards of cliff where no one could see us from the highway. And that was the main point of it. And then we just went down there with all the surfers, and we shot the video for an hour basically right before sunrise or sunset.
Okay, so you had surfers all around you.
Yes, we did.
And by the way, we also had a team of, I don't know, 20 people or
Yeah.
almost or something that were helping us out, all our friends. And thank you to all of you guys who helped us out. Like, that was amazing. We had people standing with the sun reflectors up on these huge rocks, like shining the sun back onto us on one. We had magic hours, what we wanted to hit, so that the light was just right. So there wasn't weird shadows from too much daylight and it wasn't too dark. It was just that perfect magic hour, they call it in photography. So we wanted to hit that 1 hour and we did it.
I wish that the reason for that was to be poetic and only to use starlight to light the video, but it was mostly because we wanted to be economic in time and money, and Magic Hour does both of those things.
I think I know what you're talking about. I recorded a video on the beach in Cancun.
Okay.
And I got delayed to what ended up being that magic hour, that as I'm talking, the sun is just right to where you see things starting to get dark behind me and you see the hotels start to light up.
Yeah, it's like a glow. A glow happens in the air instead of having weird down shadows from the sun or being too dark to see. It's that magic 1 hour of like this beautiful glow that happens.
Yeah, you use it a lot in photography and video just to and it works great for about an hour. You have perfect lighting, basically.
And I did another one that was kind of well timed like that, where I happened to be in Melbourne, and I was in somebody let me use their penthouse apartment to record this video, and so I had the camera angled so that you could see the sunrise behind me.
Oh yeah.
Now this was to match the time for people that I'm talking to elsewhere in the world, but of course Australia is so far away that means that I have to be juxtaposed, and so I got the coming dawn, which I thought looked brilliant. Because it was an hour-long podcast. I just worked the dawn into the latter quarter of that, and that was perfect.
Very cool.
Yeah, you can definitely get the magic hour at sunrise. It's just very hard to get a band and or volunteers to be awake at that time.
You just call them all up and say, "Hey, you haven't gone to bed yet, have you?"
That's true.
All right. So what else have you got for us?
Oh.
So we're gonna show Black Sheep, a little clip. Black Sheep.
Yeah, we're going to show a little clip of Black Sheep. Also, just kind of on the same subject, is if you want to check it out, we have behind the scenes, and it kind of shows us doing all those things.
You'll see our
shooting the
friends doing
video,
the stuff we're saying,
shows us in the studio, shows us shooting our first video of Just Like You as well. So that's on our YouTube channel. You can check it out.
Yeah.
All right, I'll include that too.
Cool.
And then moving on to album 2. This is it's all been written. We have 10 really great songs. They're finished. All the demos are recorded. We literally just waiting to go into the studio. And so for album 1, we financed it ourselves. It was, albums are really expensive. But we did it ourselves. And then what happened is, between then and now, is we had a baby. He just had his 4th birthday on Friday. But for 4 years, all of our extra money we used to use for a band has kind of gone to his daycare and care and needs. So we just, honestly, guys, we just don't have the money to make this album, even though it's ready to go. We just got to go in the studio and record it. And I feel like it's not going to see the light of day unless we get some help this time. Last time we did it, but this time we just can't.
So what we did is we created a donate page. So you can go to monsterandsunday.com/donate. And right now we're at around $1,000. But if you want to help, please do. And it has a goal there. You can see where we're at with our donations, and you can help us make this happen. And also with those donations, it's not really just a straight donation. So you can get rewards. Like once the album comes out, you can get a signed CD from us, the new T-shirt. You can also get even things like backstage passes to the first release shows and things like that. So there's a lot of really cool rewards. But anyway, so what you're about to hear is the demos. And what that means is basically we record these things in our house. And the purpose of
right here
recording them is so that we can take them to the engineer. We can refine the songs by ourselves, but we can take them to the engineer and he knows what we're going for. We can take them to the drummer that we're going to use, which we're really excited about. The drummer that we've found for this album, he's local. He's part of the Satanic Temple here in Arizona, and he's a really good drummer, and he's excited about this project, and I'm hoping that there may be more things in the future. We'll see.
not just that, but the studio we've already picked out. It's in Phoenix, and the person who's recording us, who he loves our music, and he actually has a Grammy. He recorded all of Evanescence's albums, and he has a Grammy for their biggest album. And so we're really excited to work with him, and he wants to work with us. And it's like, yes, this is like such a cool opportunity for us. We just need to gather the funds, and we can head on in there.
Yeah.
Exciting.
That album by Evanescence was one of the very few in my life where I like every track, where it was all good.
Yeah.
All right, so we're playing a clip.
So we're playing a clip.
Let's do it, Black Sheep.
So what we're doing is Black Sheep, and this is a demo clip for our first album. And why don't you?
Second album.
Sorry. Okay. This is a demo clip for us.
Hello.
Oh, I'll wait till he's done laughing. And this is a demo clip for our second album. Why don't you tell them about the song?
Yeah, so Black Sheep really, it ended up feeling almost like an anthem, like an atheist anthem, if you will. But it really is actually just about, kind of like on our first album, I wrote that song Baby Eater. And it was like talking about how we might be like made fun of or mocked as atheists, and your family thinks you're like a derogatory person or something, like you're a bad person maybe. And then I was like owning that Baby Eater name. This is very similar with Black Sheep. I've always felt, I grew up in a family that was really religious, and for like 20 years I was just alone. I was the only atheist in my family. I mean, things have changed a bit now, but back then it was just really hard, and I felt always like this black sheep, like just different than everybody else, and also kind of like scorned or looked bad upon. You know what I mean? Like I was the evil one kind of thing. Like, oh, Tally, so I always just like felt bad about myself. So in this song, I'm like owning that, and it's almost anthem-y. Like I'm just like bringing some power to that title and going, you know what? Yeah, I am, and I'm proud of it. So it's pretty cool.
I am the one who's not afraid. The one you love, but you love more to hate. I am the black sheep of my family. I am the unwanted atheist. I am the black sheep of my country. I am the outspoken atheist.
Okay.
All right, so that was Black Sheep.
Mhm.
Very nice. Didn't you like that? Ah, quit that. All right. So what else you got for us? No.
What is your birdie's name?
This
Who
is
is this?
Max.
Hi, Max. Rat.
Yeah, he can be a bit of a jerk. And he's sitting on my
I could-
shoulder right now
I
because
could use him as a singing coach.
he's sitting on my shoulder right now because just before I started the recording up, he was screaming my name, insisting. So okay, fine,
He can do
you're
that?
out.
He
What's
can
that?
say like, "Run!" like that.
Constant.
I
Yes.
want to hear that. I want to hear that. He's my new vocal coach idol.
Yeah. I was on a podcast with somebody. I was having an argument with them, and they got real snippy with me. I think I hear your mother calling you. I'm like, no, that's my bird.
That's so funny.
Because he does sound a little bit like an old lady when he does that.
Oh.
So, what else can you tell me?
Okay. So what else is happening?
Well, so
We should get to the wake up.
I mean, you're like true rock and rollers now that you have somebody from the Satanic Temple, right?
I would
A
agree.
Satanist in our band.
Yes,
I
yes.
think it's
A
official.
Satanist in our midst.
It's official.
You have to
Yeah,
sell
it's
yourself.
pretty cool.
It is the devil's music that you're playing.
Of which who like came before us. We talked about that a little on the last one. Like Ozzy and all these people that actually Alice, what's his name?
Oh,
Alice, what's his name?
Alistair. I was gonna say Alistair Crowley, but that's not. No. What's his name?
I'm pretty sure
Sorry.
Alistair Crowley was actually a
I'm
Satanist.
crying.
Uh,
Yeah, he was. That's
well,
not
an
the name I meant to
occultist,
say.
isn't it? Is maybe you can help me with that,
That's
Aaron.
not the name I meant to say.
Occultist?
You
Is it
know.
occultist or Satanist? I'm not sure exactly.
I'm not big on Aleister Crowley, but I think he was an occultist,
Yeah, I think
as
occultist
well
is
as
the
an
proper
Aussie
term.
song.
Yeah, yes, good Aussie song. I like
No,
that song.
Alice Cooper. That's what I was trying to say.
I just
Alice
love Alice.
Cooper,
What's his name? That's adorable.
Sorry. Can you tell I'm a big fan of his music? Not. Anyway, yeah, he's religious. Ozzy's religious. Who else? Just goes on
Well,
and on.
yeah,
That
pretty
guy
much
from
anybody.
Korn
Here's the
is
thing.
religious.
Here's
Like,
the thing that we get all the time is that, well, aren't all rock bands or mainstream music, aren't they all atheists?
yeah,
No.
it's the devil's music.
That's the
No,
most
they're all
ignorant thing you could
religious,
say.
pretty much.
They're all pretty much religious, and they'll all thank God at the Grammys, and they'll all talk about being born again.
And they all
And
do
just
the God
because
prayer
somebody
before they
writes
go on
an
stage.
anti-religious song doesn't mean that they're writing atheist songs. There's plenty of religious well, yeah, I will say it. Religious people who believe that religion is the problem, and they don't consider themselves religious despite the fact that they believe in God and Jesus and that he died and was born again. Yes, you're religious. Get over it.
Yeah, so like Ronnie James Dio wrote like everything using Christography. I mean, is that the word? You know, you have to use all kinds of Christian symbols and well, iconography. Like
Sure.
if where would metal music be if we didn't have people who believed in demons and angels and like
That's
Ronnie James Dio, his best song with Black Sabbath, that's another example of what I'm talking about. But then
Absolutely.
Ronnie James Dio's best song with them was Heaven and Hell, right? And
Mhm.
of course these people believe in all of that. And the sad thing is that I just have to enjoy the music, I have to enjoy the feeling behind the music, and then I just kind of just ignore the lyrics.
Yeah.
Until we get to Motorhead, and because Motorhead wrote atheist songs.
Yes, Lemmy was definitely an atheist. No question about it.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's sad that he's passed, and he was a great metal musician.
Mhm.
Well, he says he never identified as a metal band. He said we play both kinds of music, roll.
Yeah, just faster than anybody else had played before him.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly. I think somebody labeled them as a speed metal band, but he insisted that we're a rock and roll band, and that's just the way he wanted to be remembered. Even though everybody that likes Motorhead likes the hardness of that, and it was like they were always in with and associated with all the metal bands worship Motorhead and so forth.
Mhm.
That's just the way that is, isn't it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Wake Up is the clip that we want to share with you guys. This is exclusive just for Arn's show, and we picked the song for Arn because it's our most hardest metalist, like screamo-ish, like just in your face. I don't know, it's like our Master of Puppets or something. Like
It's a song on the album that we thought Arn would enjoy the most. That's pretty much it.
Song.
Yeah.
And actually, I wrote this song about my brother. I couldn't bring myself to write a song, even though my brother's probably the most biggest. He's super religious, by the way, and we for I don't know 20, 30 years now. How long? We've been arguing about this topic and just struggling a lot. And we've spent years where we're just on non-speaking terms, and then sometimes we'll come back, but then it always ends up going back to the God topic with us. And it's just been really difficult. And so I wanted to write a song that portrays like how I really feel about going through all of this with him, and how I feel. It's called Wake Up because I literally, I've done everything I possibly can to try to get him to so to speak, wake up. Like, please just see reality. Please, you hold the key actually. And these kind of things that I'm saying in the song, it's just a really emotional, personal song for me.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I feel like he holds the key. Like, I realized after all these years of me trying to show him reason, logic, science, whatever, he's just in his own jail cell that he created mentally around himself to stay in the God world. And like, I feel like I'm looking at him and literally has the key in his hand. He could just like unlock it and come out with me, but he won't. And until they do, there's nothing you can do. Doesn't matter if it's 20, 30, 50 years pass. I will never be able to help him because he's the only one who has that key to let himself out and actually accept some of the things I'm saying. Otherwise, he's like, I feel like he's like locked in a God jail cell holding the key and he doesn't see it. It's right there. I'm like, it's right there in your hand. Just use it. I don't know. It's a weird concept, but that's kind of how I feel. Like there's nothing I can do to help him. Only he can help himself, really. So it's a sad kind of situation and story and everything, but this is my most brutal song I've sung. As far as like, we really stepped it up, Steve and I. His guitars are freaking ridiculous. Both of us really stepped up our game. I literally took screaming lessons so that I could do a song like this. And you'll hear me scream in here and growl and do all kinds of more dynamic singing than you've heard from us before. And really on the whole album, this is the most dynamic and gnarly and just in your face metal, pleading emotion bleeds out of it. Like, I can't say enough about it. I hope you guys like this clip that we're about to play. Check it out.
Wake up! Oh, please just wake up! Come out of your slumber! Come out of your slumber! Wake up! Oh, please just wake up! Come out of your slumber! Come out of your slumber!
Okay, well, she was right. Your guitar work is gnarly.
Thank you.
And I was wondering when she said that, is it just because you spent so long in San Diego that you have to say gnarly?
Well, I'm born and raised in California, so I can't help it. It's just a part of my lingo.
Uh-huh.
Always
Yeah,
a word.
I adapted the word rad while I was there.
All right. Well, yeah, no, that was really good. I did very much like the guitar work in that song. And what you were talking about people that have themselves locked in a cage, you know, they have a very different perspective on that. I've heard believers describe that what is it? They're impregnable to reason, and they call this a quality called armor of God.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm serious. I mean, and you know, this is how they're deflecting reason away from themselves. This is how believers have explained it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think I would counter it with another song we wrote called Faith Kills. So they have the armor of God, which really what that means is that they have faith. They have no reasonable reason to believe these things. So the only thing that they could possibly counter with is that, well, they believe them on faith. And faith is a virtue, and faith makes it right. And we should be faithful. We should all believe in God. Well, we wrote this other song, and you can check out Seth Andrews' podcast because he's going to have it on there. It's called Faith Kills. And really the crux of that song is when you believe things without evidence, it can lead to all sorts of terrible things. And we've seen this over and over again with wars, with atrocities, with people not bringing, like the Christ Church, not bringing their own children in for medical attention because of faith. Faith is a terrible way to understand the truth, as I'm sure you've said probably a million times. And the armor of God is just another example of faith trying to trump reason. And that armor is pretty weak.
I have the impression that for some of these young Earth creationists, for example, if you had a time machine, they would still deny what they had experienced. If you could take, if I had a time machine like a TARDIS, for example, I would not be able to get Ken Ham or Kent Hovind to walk into it. Not if they thought it was real. They would refuse to go in because they don't want to know, or they don't want to accept what they already know is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I have that perspective, is because I know of people like Andrew Snelling, for example. He was a geologist who was working for Answers in Genesis, or the organization that would become Answers in Genesis. But at the same time that he was writing articles for them, blaming everything on flood geology, he was working as a professional geologist, wherein he himself dated like the Kungura rock formation in Australia in the billions of years, and he goes through all of the technical analyses of how he did the multiple dating methods that he did. So we know that this guy knows better than what he's saying, and many of them do. They simply don't care. They don't want it. They often say, and I'm sure you've heard people say this, that belief is, they can choose to believe whatever they want to believe simply because they want to believe it. And so they think that truth is subjective, that nothing can ever be objective. And so they can choose to believe whatever they want. And as long as you can't prove them wrong, and you can never prove them wrong, then they can go on and pretend that it's right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then,
but can you not really prove them wrong?
You can only prove something wrong to somebody who has reason, or who is open to reason. If they're not amenable to reason, then how can you reason with them?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, and so
here's another example of that, and to be a little bit more overt with it. One of the first counter arguments that comes up whenever I'm trying to deal with an extreme believer, or like a fundamentalist, a reality denialist, is they'll do that. They'll deny reality. That the only way that their position is so weak, the only way they can be right is if reality is wrong, and so they will immediately begin questioning reality. They dart back into philosophy, wherein they can pretend that you can't prove that you exist. So if I can't prove that I exist, and I can't prove that reality is real, then I can't prove that they exist or that evidence exists. And this is how they reject evidence. And it doesn't matter that I point out that, you know what, if reality is not real, if this really is the Matrix and it's all an illusion, then in that hypothesis, your belief in the literal accuracy of the Bible would still be wrong.
Right.
So if reality is real, you're wrong in that. You're wrong in reality, and you're wrong in your alternate reality too. Either way, you're still wrong.
Get the bird going. You're drumming up your birdie over here.
That's okay, but, and also, doesn't it kind of show how doesn't it kind of show how weak the argument is if you have to go that far? Like, you can prove that that already you're going down a crazy rabbit hole. Like, how far back against the wall are you as a Christian when you're starting to argue that you can't know that reality is reality? There's nothing that backs that in the Bible. Obviously, they're going off the script, first of all, and it's also just a ridiculous argument in the first place. In my opinion, it's ridiculous. Like,
well, that's only because you don't understand philosophy. Yeah, I got into it with a professor, PhD professor of philosophy, who right away told me that in a sense, he told me that evidence is not evident because facts are not factual, because nothing can ever be objectively verified, and you're free to believe whatever you want because truth is subjective.
There are different types of truth. There's subjective truths and objective truths, and they're very different things there. Not
when you don't even know that you exist. Now objective truth is out the window. That's where
exactly.
That's right.
And he did explicitly state that nothing at all ever could be objective. That he was an idealist, which means that the way he described it was that all reality is the product of somebody's imagination. We just got to determine who's.
You know what I think, Arn? I think anybody thinking something that stupid is proof that I don't have that kind of imagination to imagine this world that isn't objective, because I would never come up with something that idiotic in my own brain.
Okay, well, yeah,
does that make any sense? Did I go too far off script there, or does that make some sense?
Yeah, we can only scoff so much because you and I do not have the PhD or the professor accolades and everything that these other philosophers do, which is why they're so much more superior to we.
Well, that doesn't even matter, because God's ways are higher than our ways. So what the fuck do they know?
Exactly, we're all just a dream of drama.
Well, I'm saying that if they believe in God and their philosophy is you can believe whatever you want to believe, but they obviously want to believe what the Bible said, then God's ways are higher than your ways. And so what do they even understand with their moral philosophy, their philosophy of humans, their flawed human philosophy that they understand?
Which makes me think that we've seen interesting names of cities in certain states. Like we have Arizona, Texas, for example. That makes no sense, right? And I've seen that there actually is a town called Bumfuck Egypt, which I thought was terribly amusing. There's a town in Japan that looks to me like it says "fuck you, okay," but I don't know how you. It looks like it says "fuck you, okay," and I think that there should be a town in Israel called Nothing. Just so we can have some place on the map. This is Nothing is Real.
Yes. Let's make
All
a
right.
petition.
There probably is a town called Nothing
Well,
somewhere. In,
But
Well,
it needs
Google
to
it.
be in
It needs to be in
Israel, or it
Israel.
won't make any
Yeah.
sense.
Oh, it should be in Israel. Oh,
All right.
funny.
So
Okay.
you got anything else for us? Like, how can people connect to you? And I think well, of course, we'll
Yeah.
include links below to anything
Mm-hmm.
that you want, any web addresses that you want to refer anybody to. We'll do that.
Okay. Well, the main thing is the fundraiser, guys, because we can't get in that studio and make this happen for you without your help. We just can't this time. We funded our last album. This time we just can't. So if you go to momsonsunday.com/donate, it tells our story there and you can donate. And we're giving away things like Steve was saying. You can pick your tier or level, but even if you can only do a few bucks, like $10 or something, that's fine too. Just any little bit helps, and hopefully we can get in that studio really, really soon, sooner rather than later, and get it done.
absolutely.
Anything you want to add?
I think that pretty much covers it.
All right, everybody. Monster on Sunday.
Like any tree, he holds the key.